The siren wailed, a high-pitched scream slicing through the humid Chicago night. But 10-year-old Caleb barely registered it. He was hidden, tucked behind the overflowing dumpster, behind Mrs. Henderson's bakery, his breath hitching in his throat. He'd seen the flashing lights, heard the shouted orders, and knew, with a sickening certainty, that they were looking for him. His stomach twisted. He hadn't meant to. The apple pie, radiating warmth and cinnamon sweetness on the windowsill, had simply been there. His own stomach had been growling a protest for days. Now he was a thief, a criminal. His mother, if she knew, would be heartbroken. He squeezed his eyes shut, trying to conjure her face. Mama always said he had a light inside him, a bright spark that could illuminate the darkest corners. But right now, all he felt was a crushing darkness, the fear of being caught, of being labeled, of becoming another statistic. He risked a peek around the dumpster. The officers, their faces grim under the harsh glare of the street lights, were questioning Mr. Johnson, the grocer. Caleb's heart hammered against his ribs. He knew he had to run, to disappear before they found him. He bolted, weaving through the alleyways, the half-eaten apple pie a heavy weight in his pocket. The sirens faded, replaced by the rhythmic thump of his own panicked heartbeat. He ran until his lungs burned and his legs screamed, finally collapsing beneath the hulking shadow of the L tracks. He was alone. Days blurred into a desperate scramble for survival. Caleb slept in abandoned buildings, ate scraps he found in trash cans, and constantly looked over his shoulder. The city, once a familiar and comforting landscape, now felt menacing, full of judging eyes and unspoken accusations. He was invisible, yet hyper-visible, a ghost haunting the fringes of society. One afternoon, huddled in a doorway, trying to escape the relentless rain, a woman stopped in front of him. Her name was Miss Evelyn, and she ran a community center a few blocks away. Her eyes, though lined with age, held a warmth that reminded him of his mother. She didn't ask questions, she didn't judge. She simply offered him a warm meal and a dry place to rest. That night, in the dim light of the community center, surrounded by the murmur of other lost souls, Caleb finally felt safe. Miss Evelyn saw something in him that he had almost lost, that spark, that light. She enrolled him in the center's after-school program, a haven of books, art supplies, and mentors who believed in second chances. He discovered a talent for painting, pouring his fear, his loneliness, and his yearning for home onto canvases. His art became his voice, a way to express the emotions he couldn't articulate with words. He painted the harsh realities of his life, the shadows of poverty and prejudice, but he also painted the resilience, the hope, and the beauty he saw in his community. He excelled in school, fueled by a burning desire to prove that he wasn't just a thief, that he was capable of more. He devoured books, absorbing knowledge like a sponge. He learned about history, about the struggles and triumphs of his ancestors, about the power of education to break cycles of oppression. Years passed. Caleb, no longer the frightened boy hiding in the alleyways, blossomed into a confident and articulate young man. He earned a scholarship to a prestigious art school, his talent undeniable. His paintings, raw and powerful, began to attract attention. Never forgot where he came from. He used his art to advocate for his community, to raise awareness about the injustices he had witnessed, to inspire hope in the hearts of those who felt lost and forgotten. One day, he received an invitation to exhibit his work at a gallery downtown. The opening night was a whirlwind of flashing cameras and admiring glances. He saw Miss Evelyn in the crowd, her eyes shining with pride. Then he saw him, standing in the corner, a man in a tailored suit, his face etched with regret. It was Mr. Johnson, the grocer. He approached Caleb cautiously. "I remember you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I saw you take that pie. I knew you were hungry. I I should have done something." Caleb looked at him, the anger he had carried for so long slowly dissolving. He saw not a symbol of injustice, but a man burdened by his own conscience. "It's okay, Mr. Johnson," Caleb said, his voice calm. "I understand." He understood that the world was a complex place, full of both cruelty and kindness. He understood that people made mistakes, but they also had the capacity for redemption. He looked around the gallery, at the faces of the people, admiring his art, at the vibrant colors that filled the room. He had transformed his pain into beauty, his adversity into strength. He was no longer defined by the apple pie, by the sirens, by the fear. He was Caleb, an artist, a survivor, a beacon of hope in a city that had once tried to swallow him whole. His light, nurtured by Miss Eveline's unwavering belief, shone brighter than ever before, illuminating the path for others who had lost their way. And in that moment, standing tall, he knew that his journey, though arduous, had just begun. The light he carried was meant to be shared, a flame to ignite change, one brushstroke, one canvas, one life at a time.